if you have a very specific person, whether Pavan or me, to answer that, you can call that out as well. Anything you want to add, Pavan?
Yeah, thank you, Anuj, for setting the stage, and thank you, Radhika, for introduction. And yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting format. Ask me anything, right? I mean, I'm pretty happy to be part of this, and we can have a candid conversation for sure.
So let me request the participants to drop their names in the chat box so that we can have them start asking the questions one by one. Okay, so we have Dilip. So Dilip, you can switch on your video and ask your question yourself.
Okay, I think my video is already on. Are you not able to see me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Pavan and Anuj. So I took the foundation level training from Harasar a few weeks back, and I'm not fully into product management yet, but I'm trying to switch to the product management career actually. So one of the questions I have is is the SPM framework adopted in your organization, and actually what challenges did you face to have everybody get a buy-in into the SPM framework? And actually, in my company, each product is managed separately, and I don't think they already have a full view like the way SPM framework envisages it actually. So I wanted to have an idea on that.
I see here there are a couple of questions, right? I mean, one question is more about, how do I get into the product management part? And the second question is more about the adoption of the SPM framework at different companies. Is that fair
correct
understanding of the question?
Correct.
So, Anuj, you want to add anything on the SPM framework or something? So I can take up the product management one. Yeah.
So Dilip, the SPM framework is really well thought out and covers a lot of a lot of aspects, and it's a very well defined structure, right? But again, if you really see, different organizations are at different level. We do not have the opportunity to start a fresh organization and then implement the SPM framework and say, okay, now this is how we are going to work, right? Most of the organizations are already existing, they're already working, and now they're trying to adopt this product model, right?
Okay.
So it means that they already have a lot of legacy to handle. We have a lot of already existing enterprise software running, business running, existing customers. Now it's like for them, they have to transform while they perform, right? They cannot shut down their business for even a day and say that, you know what, we're getting into product model and here is this is just will be
not possible. Okay.
So that's where you see in this whole adoption journey, the companies are adopting piece by piece, right? And it's again a maturity curve, and different companies are at different point in time. So that's where you may not see your company or my company or a lot of other companies adopting exactly the SPM framework as it is, right? So there, and also we are also at a point in time in the industry. I can share that the product management definition is very different in every other company.
Okay.
Right? And it changes from domain to domain. It changes from context to context. It's also varies like, are you a startup or are you an already existing MNC? It's even the role of a product manager is pretty it's not a standardized role. And in India, especially, this is a niche area which has started in last few years, right?
Okay.
So the industry is just evolving. We haven't yet reached the gold plate standards yet, So
Understand. Yeah.
that's where we are right now. It's pretty beginning journey for most of the organizations, and as I said, lot of them are at different point in the maturity curve.
So in your company, whatever you're handling, have you been able to actually implement the whatever templates and things that the framework offers?
So,
Yeah, anything that you have actually.
sure. So let me give you a perspective from my what I do. Okay, my role as is a transformation leader at Lowe's, right?
Okay, okay,
And we help the company to move into the project to product direction, and that means I own the practices for agile product management and DevOps, right?
okay,
Slash engineering. So we have defined our own playbook for product managers, right? How our company is going to work, what is going to be the frequency of certain things, right? How are we going to put the structure around it?
I didn't feel worthy enough to be a father.
We have
And on that day, I said, never ever again will I bring my family into this situation. That was 10 years back. And I'm so to say right now that because I made that one decision in 2011, today I'm able to help hundreds of people come out of that same situation.
I think
I
Prasad.
think there is Prasad, if you can go on mute. Yeah, I've just muted Prasad.
Sure, thank you. So yeah, Dilip, it is mainly around every company is evolving on it, and as a product manager, right? When we hire product managers or we build the product management capabilities in the organization, we look for the core knowledge of being a product manager.
okay,
So SPM give you a great knowledge base there, right? And again, it has to be topped up with a little bit of experience as well.
okay,
If you're just entering at a very beginning level, we may give you an opportunity to join as a associate product manager, where we shadow you with a senior product manager, and we just learn a lot on the job, right?
okay,
So the role of a product manager is interestingly the one, like quite a few others, but this one is very much on not just the knowledge base. It's a lot of experience, lot of comes by doing it, right? So
correct.
you have a lot of framework, but when you start applying, you just learn a lot more than what we learn in the class. But that's a great foundation to have. You understand the structure, you understand the role, you understand what value you bring in to the table, right?
Right.
And that's where you start the journey. So I will say, look for opportunities to get a chance in your existing company or in the new company to apply some of them,
Okay.
right? And that will be huge learning for you.
Okay.
Pawan, over to you if you want to add
So
something.
yeah, sure. I mean, so the first part of your question, right? I mean, how to get into the product management per se, if I understand
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
And I assume some of you are already established product managers, and some of you may be, aspiring to be product managers. So if you are already established, please bear with me what I speak, right? I mean, you must be already practicing all this, yeah. So the first thing what I say is we need to develop that kind of a product thinking. What do you mean by product thinking, right? So say for example, I'm a coder, or I'm a functional consultant. I'm doing something else, some other function. I want to get into a product management, right? We need to inculcate product thinking. Product thinking is the first one is about the understanding your product and portfolio. I'll take an example. Say I'm working on in a software company in a supply chain domain. Supply chain domain is very vast, right? You have demand planning, you have operations, you have logistics, multiple things. Maybe I must be focusing on one module of it, right? Now I need to know the product, what I'm working fully, and also the breadth of the portfolio of supply chain, what is supply chain. That is one thing. The very first thing is I need to know the product. Many a times what happens is, right, I mean, even product managers or aspiring people, they get into a discussion and they see, hey, I don't know what is logistics. I only take care of planning part. Okay, we don't need to know the entire depth of logistics, but we need to have. So my point is you need to have the broader understanding of your product to portfolio. The point number one. Okay, within your company. Let's say if you're planning to change within your company, what your company does in supply chain,
Okay.
product, and portfolio. The second thing is about market. Okay, I know what we are doing now. I understood. What is my market doing? What is my competition doing? Right. So then you know what is your market doing. So my X vendor, Y vendor, Z vendor, each of them are doing in this. And what is their USP and what is my USP? And this question comes for product manager. I mean, why you or why your product? Tomorrow we both go and pitch our a software idea to investors. They'll ask us, why you? And then multiple vendors. I mean, why you? So that we can answer only when we know what we have today. If we are already working in an MNC, and what is our competition doing? What is the USP of both of them? Then you will understand the deltas or niche places where you can play and become the USP of yours.
Okay.
So this we need to develop as a product thinking. The second one is a organization. We need to understand our organization very well, right? I mean, so I developed a product. Good. I'm a very good product manager, assuming I developed nicely. But I need to know the avenues. How can I take this product to the market? So I need to know my organization very well. Who is my pre-sales? Who is my sales? Who is my consulting? Who are the partners outside? And all that. So we need to know who is who in the organization setup. That's point number one about your organization. Second point in the organization is I need to know very clearly in the back of my mind, what is my corporate strategy, product strategy, technology strategy. Okay, fine. My company focuses more on enterprise solutions or products. But if I think like, I want to do some product for end consumers, individual consumers, or I want to do something for governments, maybe that may not be the scope, right? So we need those corporate strategy, product strategy, technology strategy of our company should be always in the back of our mind if we are working in an MNC, right? Or if you're in a startup, you yourself starting a startup, right? I mean, then in that case, it's okay. Anyway, you must have already defined the boundaries. That's about your organization. The third part, which I definitely see a lot of value is, right, is about knowing who is who in the world of this particular domain. So I am venturing into product management in supply chain. So who are the thought leaders in supply chain within my company and also outside my company? Maybe I work for SAP. Maybe it's worth to understand who are the gurus in other companies as well. Doesn't matter, right? That's point number one. And also we need to know the researchers, academia, thought leaders globally. So and follow them, right? So then we know what is happening in this particular market. So the first one, as I mentioned, the product per se, portfolio per se thinking. The second one about your own company organization thinking. The third one is about knowing who is who in the. If we develop all these three things, I am sure that will form a good context to become a product manager. Then you will have the lot of frameworks like SPM framework or very well established trainings are all available, which will put your thinking into a structured execution mode, right? Yeah, does it
Yeah,
answer or is it too general?
no, that answers. Yeah, actually, thank you.
Yeah,
We have any other person here in asking questions next? Abhijit, please go ahead.
Hey, Pavan. Hi, Anuj. So Abhijit here. I work as a product lead with Medley in Pune. Um, what we have started doing, and I would like to have how you have experienced and done it in your organization, is the state of the product analytics. Uh, it's and we are into B2B or more into B2B2C as well to some extent with a couple of products that we have. I would love to understand your thoughts in terms of what is your take as to how do you deal with the metrics for the KPIs piece, and then the second is how do you ensure that once you define those metrics and KPIs, you have that analytics in place. And I'm not just talking about the quantitative analytics, but the qualitative piece around that as well. Thank you.
I'm still trying to get a little understanding of what do you mean by analytics of KPI. Is that KPI is that related to your business you mean by how do you
I'm
improve my business kind of a thing in general, or you are talking about the analytics of your domain itself? I mean, just.
No, I'm talking about the product KPIs or the product OKRs that you set for yourself
Okay.
in the next 6 months, 1 year. And to achieve that, to ensure that you're on track, what kind of analytics mechanism that you have seen or you have built yourself inside your product organization?
Mm-hmm. How do we start? Maybe can I start with one pointer, or do you want to start with Anuj something?
Yeah, so I can give you a high level perspective and Pawan, feel free to add in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So, Vijit, in our outpatient, we follow the OKRs, right? And as you know, it has got two parts. One is the objective, of course, the aspirational part of it, right? And then second is your key results, right, which are pretty much numbers around, and it gives us a way to track. It's not just all the time aspirational, but how things are happening. So the rhythm or the kind of high level process at operation level is mainly around quarterly product reviews, you know. So we can always say that this is what we want to be, right? Number one, number two, or aspirational, or capture this whole southern market, or we want to be leader in this market, which is great. That tells your aspiration. Um, in alignment with the corporate vision and strategy, but at the same time, you need something on the ground. Excuse me, so that you can measure it, right? So the key results are there, and the and again in the key results we always have two or three metrics. One is the operational metrics that you may want to keep to make sure your systems are running, operations are running well. Second is the sum of the leading and lagging indicators. So these are the three metrics that we have for most of the products, you know, that help us to operationally make sure that we don't fall on a day-to-day business. uh, Leading indicators give us whether we are doing fine, this features are working or not, or what how the customers are responding, are our assumptions that we made in the beginning, or you know they're falling in line or reacting or getting the right response. And third is of course the you know the hardcore numbers on the key results that we said that we will measure, right? So those key results are set as per the quarterly rhythm, right? And at the there's of course a midpoint check, right? Because the last thing you want is get a surprise at the end of 3 months, right? That gives you can't respond back to the change if you have to move here and there. Uh, it could even mean accelerating some of those things if you're getting early results, right? Not every time things fail, but if they are working, let press on it hard, right? So there is a definitely midpoint check. Then at the end of the quarter, and the end of the quarter counts about the review of the previous quarter performance against those KPIs and metrics that you have defined, plus setting up for the next quarter. So this is at a 10,000 feet hopefully, but and again those metrics, and it becomes very specific to the products or the domain that we are working on. But this is how the whole key results, metrics, and other things are put in a structure and followed
So
through.
if I add an yeah, sure. If I add an example to it, right? Adoption is one thing. Say, um, I'll first set the context, right? I mean, you're mentioning about enterprise B2B or B2B2C, right?
Yeah.
And if such product, we must have already developed certain thing, and we started adding a lot of features to it over a period of time in an agile way. That is the context. In this context, one key thing is adoption.
Mhm.
Adoption. We need to measure adoption to ensure, we have any dead pieces in the product or not. Okay. So unlike the hardware world where, I plan to design a car, I will end up in design a car in hardware world. At max, I'll have some sophisticated features within it. But in a
Mhm.
software world, we think about building a car. Sometimes we end up building a truck or even
Mhm.
train as well, because there is no boundary to it, right? So what we need to do, what are the KPIs that we need to track here is adoption of individual features, not for entire of product. And when I say feature, it's not a very small feature, so a sizable feature within the product, right? If not, we need to chop them off eventually by following certain legalities. We can't simply remove the feature, right? I mean, we need to. So how many customers? I mean, if it is a cloud product, let's take again setting the context, right? I'm taking a cloud product. How many B2B customers are there for me using this software? Within the software, I have 5 features or 5 modules that exist. The fifth one is the one I newly launched. In the 6 months, let me set 3 KPIs, something like, how many customers are using the overall product. Within that, what is the percentage of data streams? If it is a cloud, I mean, you can measure the data stream, data movement, right? I mean, metric, put a meter and measure how much it is getting consumed from the day they sign for that particular feature. I mean, unless we have such kind of a KPI and we measure at the end of 6 months or 9 months, and then take a decision whether to keep this or not.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. You keep on ad for years and years, right? Over, I mean, if your release cycle is every 2 months or 1 month or 1 week, 2 weeks or 3 months, you keep on add the features, it will grow. And like I mentioned, the car will end up like a train.
That will feature factory kind of a thing.
So that is one specific example of the KPI what you said, because the adoption is extremely key in the cloud world, because you need to maintain that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the second one is about the performance part, right? Say for example, again, in the product world, what happens is you sold it to, let's say, 100 B2B customers, and each of them come back with their own requirements, their own adjustments to these features, right? How do we normalize them? Like how if you take the database world, I mean, you get lots of data, you will normalize, right? In a similar way, how do we normalize them and make such features so generic in such a way so that they're applicable to everyone? Right? I mean, we need to set such kind of a qualitative KPI there, and the quantitative KPI is more of, what is my exact number of data streams consumed by X feature? Can I keep it or can I chop it off? Does it answer or?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Anuj. Thanks, Pawan. I have a few more questions, but I see there are a couple of members want to ask. So I'll pause for some time.
Okay, we can have Rishi to ask the question. Rishi, if you have your question, you can please switch on your mic and ask here itself. He will be able to answer you here. Is there any question? He wants your contact number.
I don't think so. I mean, I'll continue if Rishi has nothing but the contact number. But so couple of additional.
My voice is audible?
Yeah. Yes, Rishi, you want to ask question?
So basically, I am a I didn't have start any my career in the product management, but I'm very interested in the product management. So as PVN Pawan Kumar sir has said that discuss all the things. So I'm a fresher, I not have a current experience. So I want to ask that if I can, how I can learn something to be a good software product manager in any company. So how I can start? There are several options. So you can start as a APM role. You can start with the APM role. So please, Pawan Kumar sir can guide me about this. Hello.
Yeah. Can I take it up, Anuj? Yeah. So in addition to what I told some time back, right, about product, your organization, market, and everything. So I'm not going to repeat that. In addition to that, since you mentioned I am a new person entering to the enterprise or a corporate world, wanted to become a product manager. The first thing is forget about the role APM or APO, PO. I mean, these are all just HR terminologies, right? But my still basic point is the same. We need to inculcate the product thinking. Okay, I mean, as I mentioned, you need to understand those domains, products, and all. That is one aspect. And also you can go through trainings, other aspect. The third aspect, which is a self-paced one, is you can pick up any business thought of your interest. Say, for example, I wanted to start a restaurant in my area. Maybe that is of my interest. And what do I do? What is my cuisine? What is my positioning in the street? I mean, there are multiple other startup vendors like the small ones, and also there are established restaurants like Udupi Park and all. They're also well 5-star hotels are all there. How do I compete with them? What is my USP? What is my product? What is my partnership model? What is my cost? What is my profit? How can I make the profit at by in what time? So these are the fundamental questions. You don't need to do anything, right? Here you need to do a self-paced thinking. Whenever you have a free time, whatever the business you have in your mind which
Yes,
is
yes.
of your interest, pick it up and start practice thinking of this thing and create a business case for it if you need to do it. That is what a
Yes, sir. Yes,
product
sir.
manager does,
I
right?
heard out. I heard out.
Yeah. So that's something you can do as a starting step, and then of course you can get into this the product and technology and
No,
organizational
I have
stuff,
just
and
said it
then
out. Let's take an example that I have interviewed at a one company whose company's name is Bazi Games. So I have a little bit research. So what the project managers can do, and what is the role. But they have the means didn't select me for the product manager role because due to a certain age. So is it a fact that age is required to become to come in a PM role? Because so many people are coming here, means in this webinar are the senior executives, means whose age is up to means to work in the PM role. So uh, if my age is not concerned, so can I work in this field? Means
yeah, I
age
mean,
is a factor
yeah,
that can
it's not
stop
it's
me to work in the PM role.
yeah, it's a very, I mean, very generic questions, right? I mean, see, first of all, again I go back to the same point. You
Because
need to
the organization don't believe that I can handle all the questions from the upper side, means or from the investors or the designers or whatever.
So it is, see, it is as simple as that, Roshi. I mean, we need to have that product thinking, whatever may be the age, whatever may be the experience, it doesn't matter. As long as we have that fundamental product thinking in the back of our mind. Say, I throw an idea. Let us say you are the investors, you're all sitting there, and I'm throwing an idea. And you will be asking hundreds of questions, right? I mean, what is your USP? How do you make money, etc., etc. If I already developed that product thinking, which is there as part of mine, and if I can able to answer those questions, I don't think you will have any problem to invest in my idea, right? That's exactly with the product manager as well. You come in a startup world, you will face the investors. In a corporate world, you will face your leadership where they need to approve the business case. So this is nothing to do with age or experience or anything, but rather you need to inculcate that product thinking. That's what my view of it is. Anuj, you want to add?
Sure. So Rushi, it is of course not any age specific role or something like that. It's it's pretty much how much in-depth knowledge you have about the product management. Are you thinking that way? Are you clearly able to
Means
articulate?
just clear my doubt that if I want to start in a PM role now itself, so how can I start? Means finding a APM role or working in somewhere or finding the or just doing the research. Just I want this question to be solved.
Okay, so I'll take your first question. You need a basic understanding of body of knowledge of product management, right? For that, you can find
Yeah,
out.
I have researched a lot and I have a basic fundamentals. So means
Rishi,
what to do in that.
Rishi, I would request you to allow the speakers. He will be answering your question one by one. So just give some amount of time for them to complete their answers.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay.
So you should get that first, basic knowledge uh, about product management. It could be your self-learning, it could be online course, it could be SPMA, it could be any other, right? So I leave that to you. Do your research and find the right course for yourself, right? And once you do that, then you start having a conversation within your company where you either get mapped to that role or start working in that role and shadow a product manager. Even if the company is not formally putting into that role, I'll strongly encourage you to talk to the product manager within your organization and say, hey, can I shadow with you? Can I help you in something, right? That's where you start, engaging and learning. A lot of it comes on the job, right? But you need to have the foundational knowledge. And the most important thing, the product manager role comes with, are you able to understand and articulate the value of your idea or what you are proposing, right? If you do you understand your customers well, right? Do you understand the competition well? These are the few basic, things that you need to be successful in this role. And as and more you get involved and engaged to do these activities, you will grow in this career. Does that help, Rishi?
Yes, yes, clear, sir.
Sure, thank you.
Abhijit, you can continue with your questions.
Okay. So just a couple of questions, a couple of additional questions I have. One is around the tech debt, what we have recently observed, and not just in this experience, but in my previous experiences as well. Tech debts are generally considered, or everybody says that it's important and we have to do it, but generally given the second priority. And if a customer is asking something, we stop doing the tech debt and immediately jump onto the customer issue. So I want to understand, what is there any kind of a framework or a thought process, or anything that you have adopted to ensure that I consider tech debt as a loan that you're carrying, and unless and until you complete one loan, you cannot take another loan and build something new. So recently what we are observing is we are not coming out of what we are doing because of the lot of debt that we have created for ourselves. That's one. The second question was around certain kind of blue ocean strategy. For example, what Freshdesk has done, or Freshworks has done, right? So they have expanded their business in so many areas slowly, though, without even ensuring, or like, it's very logical steps that they have taken, and added so many modules and so many different adjacent modules for the similar users. But it's a tough task. It takes a lot of time. So I would love to understand, have you thought around that and work around that in your past experience or present experience as well? Thank you.
So, Abhijit, tech debt is a real issue. Okay. And especially in the large organizations who have been into this space for so long. We do have, we are into business this year, we are completing 100 years of nose in business, and that means that we have built technology over years. And of course, that's a key. If you don't address that tech debt, it is going to be a blocker for us to move fast. The first and the foremost thing is that your leadership understand that, right? And this becomes a priority of it, right? Technology has to be at the core if you are into any business nowadays, right? On the ground, one of the strategies that we have really followed and encouraged leaders to do that is dedicate certain bandwidth in every sprint to work on your tech debt. You know, now this approach works with some teams, some product teams, right? This approach doesn't work with a lot of product teams. They are just in this hurry and to meet the new customer demands and more new features, right? So as a director of engineering and director of product, you need to have that conversation that what is our strategy to address this, right? Because you cannot keep on dumping things and expect that one fine day all will get sorted out, right? So that's where we expect our engineering leadership to educate, influence, and create that bandwidth to address this. Now, influence means that you have your data saying that, okay, this is where we are. If we spend 20% of this, it will enable us to gain this much of productivity down the line. You will have to talk to the business or the product in their language, right? You cannot keep on saying that, hey, my new technology has come, I want to upgrade. And there is a check and balance for the engineering leadership also, that do not run for every new technology, right? You have to have a good conversation, right? So once that agreement is reached within the leadership, then how do you do it? Some product teams do it, they have a 10% bandwidth, and there is a plan for this quarter, right? As I said, it's pretty much quarterly planning for us, and then we go for. Or there are times that, hey, this feature or this epic is very important for us to deliver, and after this we can dedicate one sprint for our tech debt. So that also worked well, saying that, okay, let's just focus on building it and delivering it and ship it out. and then we plan. So these are the two things that have really worked well, and that flexibility is with the team. How do they want to do it? But then again, there is no escape from not addressing. It's like you are turning your back to a problem which will, with every day it will grow. With every new code you are putting in, it's going to add up more exponentially, right? So, and it does choke you down the line. So as an engineer or as an engineering leadership, you are very well aware of this, right? Sometimes product will still keep pushing it, right? And that's what we talk about: product, engineering, collaboration, and understanding there, right? So business value, great. One of the thing that another a little tactical, but one of the thing that I've handled a couple of product leaders where they were like uh, very much against or showing a lot of resistance was like asking them a question: what are you responsible for?
Mm.
And you will hear all the things: value, business, operations, and all. So the next question: are you responsible for the stability and the performance? And that's where you see the light bulb going on, you know. So what do you mean by that? Then they are all ears to you. If the performance of that software product is not meeting your requirements, the time for per transaction and all, then you're just laying the path for having that good conversation. Or if your system is breaking again and again, and which is in turn impacting their business revenue or customer gains, then you have all ears from them, right? So so you can even talk to them saying that, okay, what are you responsible? Because eventually engineering team is in the background. If a product goes down, the product managers are responsible to answer to the business, right? So you got to ask them what are you responsible for, and make them aware and educate them that stability and performance and features, you are responsible for all of this, not just adding more and more and more features every
Thank
sprint,
you.
every month. So yeah, these are some of the things which from my experience, uh, and it is a tough conversation at times. There are personalities involved, there are different dynamics involved, but yeah, you have to take it through. Pawan, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, you rightly said, Anuj. I mean, different personalities are involved, and as well as different dynamics are involved. I mean, the fundamental thing is we need to have certain product standards in our mind while building the product, right? Like your architecture or your scalability, performance, security, privacy, all those things, right? You need to have in mind. But however, the dynamics play a lot of role. For example, yesterday I had a customer conversation. They wanted a feature change. It's pretty influential customer in India. The feature change takes maybe hardly 2 minutes for a developer to change, and we can push it in under 2 days as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest problem is it's a cloud product. I mean, you can't keep on change for one customer, right? No, that is where the dynamics comes into picture. The sales say, hey, you know what? We lose surface, we lose the revenue, we lose the market, everything. Now your technology says, hey, if I do this, I mean, tomorrow your system will go down if someone abused the particular flexibility you provide. So how do you balance these two is always a problem, and how do you solve this is the skill set of the product manager, I would say. At certain times, we need to stick on to our product, what do you say, stick on to our product standards and say, hey, I take my stand on this. And one other failure example I can tell you, I mean, which I built many years back. I built a feature again, for a very big customer in Europe, right? And then as usual, we wanted to satisfy the customer by providing a solution, and without thinking about the technology, scalability aspects, we provided a solution. Later, we realized the moment they started using, it started costing a lot of money. The cloud, right? I mean, we need to pay a lot of money. On top of it is creating performance issues. Now, how do you, I mean, the nightmare situation, right? Now you can't go and say, you know what I gave is good for you, but not good for me. So
Yeah,
these are tough stations, and this you will face throughout your product management career. So you should be
exactly.
cautious and stick to certain things and apply them. Yeah. Hope that's
Excellent.
fine, Abhijit.
Absolutely makes sense. Thank you so much.
So we have Raktim sir here. Raktim sir is one of the early PMs of Infosys. Raktim sir, do you have any questions for the speakers, or do you want to
First of all, thanks for, and sorry I joined late. Uh, so I was just hearing some conversation and anything, Pawan, just now what the problem you described, and yeah, we also face. Anything have we discussed on the extensibility layer of, let's say, sort of what I propagate? As you rightly said, there is always a discussion between functionality, technical, and of course sales behind you saying that we will lose this strategic deal. It's always some strategic business you will lose it. So any views on composable banking, breaking your product into various components which can be assembled, and the extensibility layer means something on the localization, customization, by which you could have addressed, let's say, whatever the problem you were describing. So yeah, thanks. That is what my.
So I think as part of those product standards I mentioned, right? I mean, performance, scalability, and all that. We also need to have this reusability concept. So unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, we are not in hardware. I mean, if you're building hardware, we think through all that because there's no patch to it, right? I'm building a flyover. There's no patch to it later. In the software world, we always have this shortcut in mind. Oh, I can release a patch. I can release something else, something else. So what we need to do is we need to have that reusability concept upfront while design itself. How can I reuse? And if you take a bigger MNCs, right? Many of the time, everyone develop the products and many of them need certain common services. Say, for example, I wanted to send an email from my product. It's a common feature. It's a notification service. So this is where again I connect back to my very first point. We need to understand our company product strategy and product portfolio. If I know that, okay, I am going to build a certain feature of sending an email from my product, do I have such similar stuff exist? Do I have, first of all, reusable components exist in my company or built as part of other products? I mean, all those things, if we have as part of our back of our mind, I don't think we reinvest multiple times. And second thing, we need to have build the software with extensibility in mind already. Right. I mean, say, for example, as I gave some time back the example, right? The customer asked for this feature and we never thought of extensibility. Just it's a solution. They asked a question, solution, and customer success. And by the way, there is a customer success involved as well there. But the scalability suffered over and cost suffered a lot. Lakim, did I answer or did I take to a different direction?
Yeah. I think we are on the same wavelength and you answered it. Thanks.
I mean, Anuj, you want to?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much on the same lines, Pawan. It's like, how are you defining your architecture? Are you thinking of platform versus product, or complementing platform and products together, right? If you just in a large organization, everybody just start building product, eventually what you will end up in seeing that similar thing being built 20 times in 20 different ways, right? You want to pull that all of that and build it as a platform and let everybody invoke the services and use it, right? So a whole lot of architecture play comes into it, and how you are making it loosely coupled is a part of your product strategy, right? Yeah.
And oftentimes what happens, like it is like a pendulum. When you are developing a platform kind of an approach where you are building lots of reusable services, you get a feeling that, oh, you know what, I'm giving all individual ingredients. Someone has to build a recipe. I might fail. And then we move to other extreme. We build a very specific product or very specific solution to some couple of customers. Their extensibility part is zero. Now, how do we balance this is extremely important. I mean, many a times when we are in this world, we get into, we think, oh, we are doing wrong and we need to get into the other world of building solutions and packages and all. When we are in other world, we think about this particular, how do we manage is what is extremely important. Maybe one last point, I think maybe it's a very, very generic comment, right? The technology, the technology guys will get into a lot of detail and they do detailed work. Whereas, a go-to-market person is a lot of visionary and lots of vision is over there. Now, a product manager, I feel, is a combination of these two. who don't get into too much of detail and become very narrow-minded, nor on other side, too much vision and the vision becomes an hallucination sometimes, right? Now, how do you balance between this narrow-mindedness and hallucination? I'm taking extremes, by the way. And the product manager is exactly an overlap of these two mindsets, and that is where we achieve the customer solution to the customers. We achieve the reusability and extensibility, scalability aspects as well. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. So let me ask one question which we have collected earlier with Anuj. How do you see supply chain products in retail with IoT and drone technologies coming in Indian markets?
Quite interesting question. Um, See, a lot of times the technology is ahead of the regulations, right? And I'm particularly addressing the question, hearing that word drone, right? And now it means you need to have a lot of regulations being approved, right? There are government agencies, a lot of approval. That ecosystem has to evolve. Yeah, from technology perspective, we have certain capabilities, but so regulations have to follow, right? And similarly for IoT, there has to be an ecosystem to build, right? These things don't exist in isolation, right? You're talking about devices talking to each other. You're talking about uh, like same thing with the blockchain, right? You cannot do blockchain yourself unless you have everybody, all the players involved, and agree to certain standards and all. So both these technologies, IoT and drone or something else that may come up, is the future, right? It's just a matter of time how fast that adoption happens and how the regulations follow. But once we see that, it just change the whole dynamics and the scenario for not only for retail but a lot of other companies. What worries me, like every technology we innovate, it all the same thing can be used for good or not so good things, right? So I was reading in on the Twitter morning itself that there's an operation happening in JNK about the recent attack on the airport using the drone, using drones, right? So now those drones we are talking here that in supply chain helping the retails, reducing the time to reach to the customers and serving fast and making business more effective, right? But then there is another use case where drone is used for something else, right? And a government or agencies or authorities who are running this country and helping us to stay on track have to look at both the aspects, right? And that's where the regulations come in, and that's where a lot of checks and balances come in, right? You can't just allow drones flying all over the place, right? There is a security concern. There are other hazards involved. So in order to have drones or IoT or something more really be successful, right? The regulations and the framework has to come into picture, right? And there is no doubt that these things are going to help human lives, are going to reduce the time from and will become the part of the business models. But my only thing is that at this point in time, I guess we need to see how all these regulations evolve. Pavan is related to this space, IoTs and also. Pavan, you may want to add something here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely technology and regulation, they go opposite always, right? The more the technology sometimes, the more we might have trouble. So regulation should be in place. I mean, no doubt about it, right? If you specifically see where these kind of technologies help, right? If you take the world of retail, one area where they're adopting technologies like IoT is a consumer engagement. How can I take my consumer engagement to next levels so that I can maintain my brand equity as well as I can improve my sales? So consumer engagement, right? I mean, imagine like you get, I mean, very simple example. Earlier we used to get a lot of pamphlets, advertisements in a newspaper. Now imagine you're walking outside of a Levi's store, and exactly when you're walking outside of Levi's store, then you get an offer saying, hey, I know you are a loyal customer, and then here is the offer. So you are engaging the consumer. Again, let's not get into the privacy regulation. That part anyway we spoke about. Now, so for retail world, consumer engagement is pretty key, right? Now, however, to retain the consumers for the retail world, the supply chain underneath that needs to be very much agile and very much smart. So that is where also again the technologies are playing a lot of role, like again like IoT and all. How do you optimize your routing? How do you optimize your demand planning? Everything with the help of AI, IoT, and other things. Yeah. And finally, in order to ensure the supply chain is also intact and smart, the underlying the manufacturing and this actually happens, right? How are your factories are enabled with predictive maintenance and other things so that there is no downtime and they can efficiently make the products on time and deliver, right? So these are the three areas where I could see technologies like AI or IoT or machine learning, blockchain, and all these things add up to. Yeah. Does it
Thank
okay?
you,
Is that
Pawan.
okay or any? Yeah.
Yeah. So, what, as Anuj said, right, every technology has a negative aspect as well. So
Of
when
course.
and people are talking about drone technologies coming in more of a delivery. So they will be replacing Zomato and Swiggy boys, and they will be replacing the Amazon delivery guys. So, Anuj, how do you see this impact happening adversely on the human resource?
See, on the human resource side, right? The only one word answer is upskilling, right? It's not that we will not need human resources, right? But we need more skilled people because there are thousands and thousands of problems to be solved, right? So we need people to solve them. They won't get solved, and people have to think around how are they going to solve them by leveraging technology and you know a different thought process. But human brain is the one who has to solve all of these, right? So definitely there will be a need for human resources. The only thing which will change from today to tomorrow will be the skill level and upskilling, constant learning, evolving, staying in touch with the organization, with the evolution of technology is the only answer, right? Continuous learning is the answer for that. People have to upskill because different models. Yesterday, if you talk about 5-10 years back, the Swiggy and Zomato doesn't exist, right? Today they are because eventually customers' needs are changing, right? So you are basically solving a customer's need, and hence this model is successful, right? Even today, you would like to order something in Swiggy or Zomato or any other delivery, says that you will wait 35 minutes, right? Sometimes your order get mixed, right? Those are still the problems to be solved. If you have a drone or any other thing tomorrow that comes up, and it can serve you within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? Today, I know that Swiggy and Zomato have so much of data which they are crunching and analyzing, and they're able to predict the food requirements for any given area in Bangalore, and they can really predict to a level that to an extent that how many pizzas will be ordered from my apartment on a Friday evening or on a Saturday evening, and how many of those will be Domino's or how many of those will be Pizza Hut. So that's all of these insights and information will help them to evolve more and more new business models, right? So as you asked Radhika, human resources will be required. It's again you have to look at the upskilling side of it.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
upskilling is a very good answer.
In my opinion, the nature of work will change. If you look at banking, right? I mean, 20 years back, I mean, we have banks, we have employees, and today they adopted lots of technology. Do we see they're losing job? No, but they do some different kind of a job, right? Like Anuj mentioned as well. I mean, it might replace some delivery boys, but they will have other works as well. So the point is the nature of work will shift. We'll right now, I mean, we bring a lot of technology. We also bring a lot of problems as well, right? We need to solve now sustainability. We need to solve security. We need to solve privacy. We need to do analytics to do consumer engagement. So lots of new jobs are coming as well. I did not know data scientist kind of a job decades back, right? That's a new job that came up now, which was not there in the past. So the new jobs will come up. Maybe the current jobs may become obsolete. So jobs will be there, and human is always needed and is needed for sure.
Yeah, I love your
That's
example
very
on the banking side. When was the last time you visit a bank? I personally don't remember.
That's absolutely a positive perspective to see, right? So
Yeah,
we keep creating new jobs.
yeah, we still have lots of jobs in banking, right? People are doing job. I don't see we close a bank or something, right? So that way good. I mean,
Interesting answer. Thank you so much, Pawan. So before I ask the last question, so we have Dilip and Raktim sir. Do you have any questions for the speakers?
No, thanks. And I think they have summarized well that we have to focus on, which I keep on saying, unlearning and learning. And the other thing which I say is like, don't worry about the future of your current job. But that, of course, will get optimized, and some augmentation will happen. Maybe worry about the work of the future. And I think that is what they have summarized, that earlier Swiggy and Zomato's or what they are, drone will come, but then some other human problem will also get solved and life will improve. So thanks. It was very, very useful and wonderful hearing this.
maybe one last remark over there. I mean, not remark, an example, right? I mean, earlier we have lots of smartness within us, right? I mean, we have lots of smartness. Now, all that smartness we are trying to get it to the gadgets and devices, right? So that doesn't mean I'm becoming on one side philosophically, yes, I might be becoming dumb because I pass on my knowledge and everything to the gadgets, right? Your smartphone does many things which you are doing by yourself earlier. But on other hand, if I see in an optimistic way, I am developing skill set to train these dumb devices to be as smart as me. So my job is also interesting there. Maybe I'm not doing that job, but I'm training a device, right? I'm doing an additional job. So in that way, I still see there is a lot of optimism involved over here.
Thank you, Pawan. So Dilip, if you have any questions, you can.
Actually, it was a nice session. I've got a lot of insights, and so thank you very much.
Right. So one last question to Pawan, and with that, I think we can close the session. So how do you design a product or factors to be considered so that we can get customer success? I think majority would have been covered with the product mindset answer, but still, if anything can be added out.
Again, some parts I've covered in earlier questions, but one point we need to keep in mind is that we should come out of this easy solution approach to customer. If our target is one customer, fine, I can give a solution and I can celebrate the customer success here. But if I'm building a product, that won't work out, like we discussed earlier. And extremely important point in software product management is building the boundary. Like I mentioned, in hardware, you think about building a car, you build a car. In a software, you think about building a car, we end up in building a truck or a train, right? Keeping those boundaries in mind, right? And then normalizing your product requirements, like how you normalize your data in your database, normalizing the product requirements and build a product, then I think you're going to achieve a customer success in a better. These are the two additional points I can make. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pawan and Anuj, for bringing a lot of insights and interesting perspectives on various aspects. So I think with this, we can close this session. Thanks for your time, and we'll meet again soon in another session.
Sure. Thanks, Radhika. Thanks, Dilip.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pawan. See you.
Yeah. Thank you, Anuj.
Bye.
Bye.